Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has won Brazil's presidential election. President Patrice Talon was in a diplomatic front in the morning of October 28th, Friday. Good afternoon, our dear viewers. Welcome to today's edition of the 1 p.m. news, coming to you live and direct from Golfe TV Africa here in the city of Cotonou with Hazel OGOIGBE. Now, getting started with the news on the local scene. The President of the Republic of Benin, President Patrice Talon, was on a diplomatic front in the morning of Friday, the 28th of October 2022. Now, the head of state granted audiences to two personalities of the West African sub-region. The first was Mr. Omar Alieu Touré, the new president of the Economic Community of West African States Commission. And the second was the former president of Niger, Mahmoud Issoufou, the chairman of the Independent High-Level Panel on Security and Development in the Sahel.
Appointed to head the ECOWAS Commission on July the 3rd, 2022, during the 63rd ordinary session of the Conference of Head of State and Government of the sub-regional body, Mr. Omar Alieu Touré came to thank the Head of State Patrice Talon for his support in his choice to head the Commission, and also to receive his advice on the challenges facing ECOWAS in the sub-region in order to better accomplish his mission. This audience was also an opportunity for President Patrice Talon and his guests to discuss the security situation and peace in the region, sustainable development, and good governance. Mr. Touré also praised the dynamism and leadership of President Patrice Talon.
Le rôle du Bénin dans le monde et dans la sous-région. Et puis, sous le président Patrice Talon.
Benin is known today as a Pan-Africanist country. Under President Patrice Talon, Benin has shown its position in a very strong way. As I know Cotonou well, I see that the difference is enormous. Between the airport and the city center, we see enormous changes, not only cosmetic, but profound. And I also follow his leadership in many areas, in culture, food security, management of state affairs. It really inspires us, and we have come to seek his commitment to us to help us in the success of our mission, said the Gambian diplomat to the press at the end of his audience.
Vraiment, ça nous inspire, et en fait, j'ai sollicité son engagement auprès de nous en tant que nouveau président.
It should be recalled that Dr. Omar Alieu Touré succeeded the Ivorian Jean-Claude Cassibrou, who is now the governor of the Central Bank of the West African states. The second guest of the President of the Republic was the former president of Niger, Mahamadou Issoufou, chairman of the Independent High-Level Panel on Security and Development in the Sahel. Discussions with the latter focused on the security, institutional, climate, demographic, economic, and social development challenges in the Sahel, as well as in the countries of the Sahara, the Gulf of Guinea, and ECOWAS that border the Sahel countries.
Still on the local scene, Benin hosted from the 24th of October to the 27th of October 2022 the 2022 edition of the World Forum on Child Nutrition. Now, in this regard, a tour in the school canteens was organized by the World Food Programs. More information in the following report.
At the Ko-Anagonu Primary School in the township of Ifeanyi, the participants of the World Forum on Child Nutrition were impressed by the functioning the school canteen, from the food storage warehouse to the canteen as well as the kitchen and the nutrition stand. Everything is done to offer hot and healthy meals to school children. In his speech, the director of the school, Bemenu Bernard, expressed his gratitude to the government and the World Food Program for providing the school with a school canteen. This has allowed a considerable increase in the school's enrollment, he said. The absentees are rare. The performance becomes more satisfactory over the years. He said before making known that apart from food, the school also benefits from a package of nutrition and hygiene activities.
À la grande satisfaction de tous. Les efforts consentis pour que les enfants puissent être maintenus.
The mayor of Ifeanyi noted that maintaining children in school has become effective thanks to the school canteens. He also praised the effort of the government as well as technical and financial partners to combat child malnutrition.
La malnutrition puisse être hors de nos territoires.
Pour nous, c'est une opportunité, nous des pays autres que le Bénin.
Member of the delegation, Ayukeba Evelyn, from the Cameroon Ministry of Basic Education, said she was impressed by the functioning of the canteen and the mechanism put in place to ensure its sustainability. She urged the communities to get more involved in order to contribute to the program support and maximize its impact.
Aujourd'hui, va continuer à galvaniser les efforts.
Converging forces for resilience and sustainability of school feeding program in the world is the theme of the 23rd edition of the Global Child Nutrition Forum, which took place in Cotonou. The forum is jointly organized by the NGO Global Child Nutrition Forum, the government of Benin, with the support of the World Food Program and Catholic Relief Services.
Crossing briefly to the foreign scene, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has won Brazil's presidential election. Now, it is a remarkable comeback for the leftist leader, who is a two-time former president. Lula's victory was a narrow one, winning just over 50% of the vote, and the incumbent president, Jair Bolsonaro, who took 49%, has yet to concede to the defeat. It was the country's tightest election since 1985, and the first time that a sitting president failed to win re-election. Away from that story, we have some technical challenges. Crossing back to the local scene, the second conference of prefects for the year 2022 opened on Thursday, a 2-day meeting which will allow the prefects of the 12 departments, their supervisory ministers, and the Minister of Public Security to reflect on issues related to security and territorial development.
The Regional Superior School of Magistracy of Porto-Novo hosted on October 27 the second conference of prefects for the year 2022. In his speech delivered on the occasion, Alassane Seydou, Minister in charge of the Interior and Public Security, invited the prefects to take more initiatives in the accomplishment of their mission, especially with regard to the security aspect for which they are primarily responsible in their respective departments. I would like to remind you of the upcoming legislative elections in January 2023, which constitutes a major event in the consolidation of our democratic process. To this end, I ask you to mobilize all stakeholders under your responsibility to ensure inclusive and peaceful elections. Our country is in the midst of a process of change. This dynamic must be maintained and strengthened, hence the need to control all the security axes, because there is no development without security. Furthermore, Minister Alassane Seydou also drew the attention of the prefects of the departments to the threats that the people are facing and which require the involvement of all actors for a reinvention of strategies in order to put out the harms of the outlaws who disturb the tranquility of the populations. He is once again the apostle of the concept of co-production of security by referring to Article 32 of the Constitution of the Republic of Benin, which states that the defense of the nation and the integrity of the territory of the Republic of Benin is a sacred duty for every citizen. The opening ceremony of the Conference of Prefects was co-chaired by the Minister of Decentralization and Local Governance, Raphael Akoteyon. This second conference of prefects for the year 2022 opened in a contest marked by the preparations for the legislative elections of January 2023.
There was a signature of a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Sports and the French Handball Federation to provide support to the Beninese Handball Federation. It happened on Thursday in one of the conference rooms of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation. Hazel OGOIGBE reports.
The solid foundations of a fruitful collaboration between the Beninese Handball Federation and the French Handball Federation have been laid. A memorandum of understanding was signed to celebrate and formalize the partnership between both. The ceremony took place on Thursday at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation. It was attended by members of the Minister of Sports Cabinet and the delegation of the French Handball Federation, led by its president, Philippe Bana. After the signature of the agreement protocol, the president of the Benin Handball Federation, Sidikou Karimou, revealed that he is a doubly happy federation president. On behalf of the federation, he committed himself to make the best of the act that had just been taken. Proud of Benin's efforts in the field of sports, especially in handball, the president of the French Handball Federation, Philippe Bana, said that this signing of Memorandum of Understanding is an excellent opportunity for his federation to prove its commitment and support to its counterpart in Benin, who has been working for many years to develop this discipline. Very happy and determined, the Minister of Sport, Oswald Homeki, did not hide his joy to see this partnership materialized. The Minister of Sport of Benin reassured President Philippe Bana and his delegation. Mr. President, you can be sure that you are talking to serious partners. Any expert that you are going to deploy in this country, any equipment that you are going to put at our disposal, any program that you are going to conceive with us, any money that you are going to invest in this country, you can be sure that all that will be managed with a lot of seriousness, with a lot of transparency. Your personal and collective investment is an investment in fertile ground with partners who understand the objectives and are determined to move forward. Benin is an exemplary country today in terms of governance and especially sports governance. We will be for you credible partners, declared Oswald Homeki. It is now a done deal. The two federations are joining hands to really promote Beninese handball, which is already doing a lot of feats.
A Nigerian robotic engineer has designed a brush he says can save the lives of people by helping to detect breast cancer very early.
In 2017, robotics engineer Kemisola Bolarinwa lost her aunt to stage 3 breast cancer. She says that initially, her aunt called it a spiritual attack and was praying for it to go away. As Bolarinwa mourned her loss, she decided to do something to help other women.
I have a conversation with one of the oncologists taking care of her then, and the thing I head on to in the conversation is that if you're able to detect this cancer at early stage, then the patient has the chances of getting cured. And I went into research, and my research shows that even out of 10 cases, 9 out of 10 cases can get cured.
To help, Bolarinwa has invented a so-called smart bra. She says it takes readings of the breast and chest wall and translates a result to a mobile application in half an hour. The first model may be ready as early as April of next year.
We launched the prototype this year, February. That was when we launched the prototype, working prototype to be precise. So, and after we got responses from all over the world, from expertise, when I say expertise in medical field now, you know, they're chipping more ideas, more guide on how we can go about it to get more accuracy, to get the more efficiency, to increase the efficiency of the device. So that has to take us back to our drawing board.
Some 72,000 cancer deaths occur in Nigeria every year, according to health officials. Breast cancer accounts for the highest mortality rate, and medical experts say late detection is often the reason. Bolarinwa is seeking a government partnership to use the device in local clinics where women can walk in and get screened. Gloria Chinyere Uku, a breast cancer survivor, had a mastectomy in 2017. Oku took part in a shirtless photo shoot as a way of overcoming her anxiety about her scar. She now works for Project Pink Blue, a breast cancer advocacy organization.
I said to the people who are down with cancer, it's not a death sentence. You know, keep pushing, keep hoping, keep believing, keep talking about your challenges. And eventually we hope that one day there will be a cure for cancer.
In 2017, Nigeria's president signed a bill for the establishment of the National Institute of Cancer Research and Treatment. The following year, authorities began a 4-year, $200 million cancer control plan to promote early diagnosis and treatment. But cancer advocates say it was underfunded and poorly implemented.
We have a very poor health system. We have a system that is so complicated. We have a system that does not cover cancer screening. We have a system that does not provide cancer screening to the population.
Aid groups held cancer awareness rallies in October, promoting early detection and healthy lifestyles.
We're seeing more cases because of the change in lifestyle, consumption of preserved foods, low exercise, poor diets, and so on. We're trying to raise awareness, trying to make people take the screenings, the breast exams seriously.
Bolanwa hopes her innovation will help in this process.
Back to the local scene, the inhabitants of the Tibona district have difficulty in obtaining basic food goods and services in the market because of the precarious materials and set up by the population. It suffers from vandalism, which makes it difficult for the market to thrive. More information in the following report.
Here is the market of the Tibona district in the department of Parakou. Regardless of the efforts of the population to make it thrive, the situation remains the same for many reasons.
C'est vrai, monsieur le journaliste, au début, tout le monde était motivé. C'est-à-dire que chacun voulait que le marché soit sur.
It's true, at the beginning everybody was motivated and wanted the market to be successful, but at some points everything just went sideways. We can't really explain what happened, but what I can say is that the district chief and the youth of the area are doing their possible best for the market to be functional just like formerly.
Ici, débat pour que vraiment le marché reprenne.
C'est vrai, le marché de Tibona a confronté des difficultés.
The Tibona market is facing a lot of difficulties. Back in the year 2000, when we got this location, I believe there was a misunderstanding that led to the selling of some plots that were not supposed to, because those were already occupied. Then others came claiming it is their spots. They even went to the extent of threatening people. Those ones got scared and left. Currently, we are still looking for ways to make the market functional again.
Ça fait que les gens ont pris peur et bon, les gens se sont retirés un peu. Donc présentement, on est en train de chercher encore à réinstaller le marché.
Acts of vandalism are happening on a regular basis in the abandoned market.
Donc ça fait que ces gens continuent pas à saboter le marché. Vous voyez, moi je ne sais pas pourquoi les gens sont comme ça.
People continue to sabotage the market. I really don't know why people behave in such manner. The women who sell in the market constructed their barracks for their business. Why do you have to come and distract them? It is very bad and it is wrong to do so. It's only those who are against the development of our district who can do that. We are only doing this for the development of our whole community. This is not my plot, and I don't sleep here, you know. We are simply looking for ways to develop the Tibona district. Just imagine that our women have to go all the way to Gema before they can buy goods, simply because this market isn't functional. And it's not cheap either to go there. They can pay up to 1,500 CFA francs for the trip.
C'est pas quelque chose de 700 à 800 francs, là un deuxième aller-retour 1500. Ils vont jusqu'à là-bas.
On a nettoyé, c'était plus sale que ça, on a nettoyé.
The market was extremely dirty, and we have to do a deep cleaning for the place to look like this today. We asked the women to come back for the time being, while we are still fighting to sort out this situation, but still, they are reluctant. They are here only on Tuesday and Friday.
Sauf mardi et vendredi là.
The population are then crying out for help, wish the authorities to fix this difficult situation so they can easily have access to the basic goods.
Rights group Amnesty International has called for a probe into abuses in the Ethiopian Tigray conflict, saying every party involved in the war in northern Tigray has committed crimes against humanity. Rights group Amnesty International has called for a probe into abuses in the Ethiopia-Tigrayan conflict, saying every party involved in the war in northern Tigray has committed crimes against humanity. An Amnesty International specialist on Ethiopia and Eritrea told a press conference in Nairobi on Wednesday. The first formal peace talks between the warring sides in the brutal two conflicts in the Ethiopia and Tigray region entered day 2 in South Africa on Wednesday. Led by the African Union, the negotiations in Pretoria follow a surge in fierce fighting in recent weeks that has alarmed the international community and triggered fears of civilians caught in the crossfire. Talks are being held at South Africa's Foreign Affairs Ministry headquarters. African Union Horn of Africa envoy and Nigerian former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who is the talk chief facilitator, was filmed and photographed entering the venue on Wednesday morning. Kenya's ex-president Uhuru Kenyatta, who is part of the mediating team, was also seen going to the building. So was South Africa's ex-vice president Phumzile Malambo Ngusuka. U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Mike Hammer, is also participating in the talks. The Pretoria Dialogue, the first publicly announced talks between the rivals, opened on Monday and is due to run until Sunday, according to the South African president.
Start of the conflict, we have seen serious human rights violations that might amount to crimes against humanity and war crimes. Some of the human rights violations which we have documented include rape and sexual violence, which is brutal and shocking. The rape and sexual violence which we have documented as Amnesty International was committed by all the parties to the conflict. There is no innocent party which has not committed human rights violations in this conflict. All of them. For the internment, the internment of all Tigrayans.
But there has so far been a media blackout with journalists kept outside the venue perimeter fence and no update has been issued.
The situation in Ethiopia is spiraling out of control. Violence and destruction have reached alarming levels. The social fabric is being ripped apart. Hostilities in the Tigray region of Ethiopia must end now.
The dialogue between negotiators from the Ethiopian government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the regional authorities in war-stricken Tigray came almost 2 months to the day since the fighting resumed, shattering a 5-month truce. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed first sent troops into Tigray in November 2020, prompting a quick victory over the North region's dissident leader, the TPLF, after what is said were attacks by the group on the federal army camps. The move followed long-running tensions with the TPLF, which had dominated Ethiopia's ruling coalition before Abiy came to power in 2018 and sidelined the party. On the foreign scene, experts took a dim view of the European Central Bank ECB's countermeasures against the high inflation by further raising key interest rates. The ECB last Thursday raised key interest rates by 75 percentage points, the third consecutive increase in the year 2022. Now, some economists pointed out that the euro once served as an economic stabilizer for the region, but the dollar strength is weighing on the region's economy.
Experts took a dim view of the European Central Bank's countermeasure against high inflation by further raising key interest rates. The European Central Bank on Thursday raised the key interest rates by 75 basis points, the third consecutive increase this year. In the magnitude and pace of monetary tightening, the bank has manifested its determination to tame the persistently high inflation which is weighing on the economic growth of the euro area. The central bank started to raise key interest rates in July with a 50 basis point increase, followed by 2 75 basis point hikes in a row. After 3 rate-setting meetings, it has so far lifted interest rates by 200 basis points. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde told a press conference on Thursday that economic activity in the euro area is likely to have slowed significantly in the third quarter of the year, and they expect a further weakening in the remainder of this year and the beginning of next year. Since the Eurozone is still plagued by rampant inflation, it's reckoned that more hikes are in the pipeline. In September, the annual inflation in the bloc stood at 9.9%, a figure the ECB considers far too high. Soaring energy and food prices, supply bottlenecks, and the post-pandemic recovery in demand have led to extensive price pressures and an increase in inflation, Lagarde told the press. The ECB has stepped up the pace, but is still very much constrained by the problems that exist here in the countries that have very high debt. If rates go up too much, they have problems of solvency, said Thomas Mayer, a German economist. Some economists pointed out that the euro once served as an economic stabilizer for the region, but the dollar's strength is weighing on the region's economy. Currently, the Eurozone is divided over whether to continue raising interest rates. The European Central Bank's next monetary policy meeting is scheduled for December.
Burkina Faso's new government last Wednesday declared its top priority would be to secure the nation's territory after the latest coup to rock the torn Sahelian state. Burkina Faso's new government on Wednesday declared its top priority would be to secure the nation's territory after the latest coup to rock the jihadist-torn Sahel state. A United Nations envoy warned in New York that around 4.9 million, or a fifth of the population, need urgent aid in Burkina Faso, as many mothers were forced to feed their children with leaves and salt. The Prime Minister outlined the nation's priorities at the first cabinet meeting, chaired by Captain Ibrahim Traore, who seized power in the month of October. Named Premier on Friday, the 64-year-old lawyer heads a 23-member government, including 3 military officers. It is a government on a war footing that has been formed. It's not a Galadina government, stated Tembele in Ouagadougou. The main and priority objective is securing the territory, Tembele said. The second will be to do what is needed to improve the quality of life for Burkina Faso people. Tembele was named premier on Friday. The 64-year-old lawyer heads a 23-member government, including 3 military officers and 5 women, to lead Burkina Faso until its promised return to civilian rule. Of the key positions in the cabinet unveiled last Tuesday, Colonel Kassoum Koulibaly was appointed Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, a key post in a country ravaged by violence. The 2 other officers are Colonel Boukare Zongrana, who oversees territorial administration, decentralization and security, and Colonel Augustin Kabore for the environment.
Comme vous le savez, n'est-ce pas, c'est un gouvernement de combat qui a été formé.
It's a fighting government that has been formed.
C'est pas un gouvernement de dîner de gala.
Not a Galadina government, and the President has insisted on this point again this morning. This government will have 3 main objectives. The first objective, the main one, and the priority, is to secure the territory. And this is something to which everyone can contribute. Every Burkinabe who calls himself a patriot can contribute in his own way.
5 ministers in the previous government under Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Santiago Damiba, who was toppled in the latest coup, have stayed on. Traore mounted the coup at the head of a group of disgruntled junior officers on the 30th of September, although his tussle for control with Damiba lasted several days. He was sworn in as interim president last Friday, vowing to win back territories and to support a transitional lead-in to elections in July 2024. Age 34, he is the world's youngest leader. Damiba, who has fled to Togo, had seized power only in January, forcing out elected President Rochmark Christine Kabore. The motive for both schools was anger at the failure to stem a 7-year insurgency that has claimed thousands of lives and driven nearly 2 million people from their homes. More than a third of the national territory remains outside the government control. Sadly, on Monday, at least 10 soldiers were killed and 50 wounded in Jibo, a northern city that has been under terrorist blockade for 3 months. The authorities have launched a drive to recruit 50,000 civilian defense volunteers to help the army fight the militants. You're still tuned into Golfe TV Africa with Hazel OGOIGBE, still the 1 p.m. news. Now we're moving over to the African newspaper review. Starting from the front page of the Matin with a story talking about the legislative elections for 2023, and it's talking about the fact that they've actually started dropping their files for those people that are interested in this. For more of that story, you could check the pages of the Matin Libre newspaper. Now, below that story, this is talking about the public conference, and it's saying the development of Benin is very important for Suivez on page 7 of the Matin Libre. Away from that, still on the local scene, crossing over to the pages of Le Matinal. On the pages of the Le Matinal newspaper, this is talking about the CCI Benin concludes its agreement with 5 countries, and is talking about that on pages 10 of the pages of the Le Matinal newspaper. Away from that, let's cross over to the pages of the Citizen Tanzania. Of course, we're obviously still on the African scene. Now, the Citizen Tanzania is giving you the reason why coal exports to Europe could be short-lived, and it says, despite prices for thermal coal used to generate electricity leaping to record levels in 2022, exporting the same to Europe might face some resistance owing to green energy drive. Below that story is talking about how 630 billion shilling airport will uplift the countryside. And of course, you could see President Samia, the president of Tanzania, standing and speaking on the pages of the Citizen Tanzania. Still on the Citizen Tanzania, the story says, EAC sets to grant East African Court of Justice financial autonomy on pages 3 of the Citizen. Away from the Citizen, let's see what is happening on the pages of the Guardian Post Cameroon. On the Guardian Post Cameroon, it says Cameroon Ballon d'Or, Biya wins special prize for outstanding role in development of football. That's on the pages of the Guardian Post. Below that story, it says Minfi recovers nearly 19 billion francs CFAs in 2 years on the pages of the Guardian Post. And that, the top heading reads, cleaning state payroll. And beside that story, talking about the World Food Program Day in different countries, we're all celebrating the World Food Program Day. Special Advisor Princess Sarah Zaid begins official visit to Cameroon today on the pages of the Guardian Post newspaper. Still on the Guardian Post, ENO adopts agreement to improve workers' condition. Away from that, let's see what's happening on the front page, Liberia. Away from that, on the front page, Liberia, it says, the pros and cons of biometric voting in the 2023 presidential legislative elections on the pages of the front page. Above that story, a revived fishing industry offers big opportunities for Liberia, but there is still a long way to go on the pages of the front page, Liberia. Now, above that story, he's talking about victims not exaggerating, and no threat, talking about the Liberia Maritime Authority sounds off on 2 stranded vessels in Liberia water. Moving over to the pages of the Namibian, crossing over to the Namibian. On the Namibian, call absent SWATO members back to parliament, empty benches is ruling party ministers. Below that story, Little Sisters wants to know when Adriano is coming home, and the great-grandson says Von Francois did a lot for this country on the pages of the Namibian. Away from the Namibian, crossing over to the nation Malawi. The nation Malawi. On the nation Malawi, Chakwera urges optimism on economic challenges. Below that story, ugly face of hunger on the pages of the nation. And our dear viewers, this is where we conclude today's edition of the African Newspaper Review with Hazel OGOIGBE. The first African president to visit Kyiv since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine was President Sisoko Embalo of Guinea-Bissau. Now he met with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a day after a visit to Russia, where he also met with President Vladimir Putin. First African president to visit Kyiv since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, President Sisoko Embalo of Guinea-Bissau met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a day after a visit to Russia, where he also met President Vladimir Putin. Embalo emphasized that Guinea-Bissau remains an unwavering partner for Russia and Ukraine. The current president of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Mr. Embalo, said Africa carries peace and wants to bring together the two brotherly countries.
Embalo emphasized that Guinea-Bissau remains an unwavering partner for both countries. I say and I affirm that Russia is a strategic partner today like Ukraine. So that's why yesterday I said that Russia is still our strategic partner, despite the fact that today there is a war between Russia and Ukraine. In November, we must do everything to prevent Russia from disrupting our food exports. Otherwise, it will provoke a price explosion in food markets, a new worsening of living conditions for millions of people. As of today, 170 ships carrying grain for Africa and Asia are blocked.
Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, said that as of today, Russia is blocking 170 ships with grain for African and Asian countries. At the press conference, Zelensky said a prerequisite for talks would be Russia's recognition of Ukrainian territory, its borders, and sovereignty. The two sides have managed limited cooperation on certain issues, such as the exchange of prisoners of war and repatriation of remains. Mr. Embalo also assured that he would ask the Russian president to release the more than 165 ships blocked near the Bosphorus Strait, while Ukraine accuses Russia of deliberately delaying these ships intended for the transport of cereals by prolonging inspections carried out in accordance with an agreement reached on these deliveries, which are crucial for many countries in Africa and Asia. Away from that, crossing over to Nigeria, for those who were first to flee, there is often an internal longing to return home. Sadly, climate change is also a driver of conflict in northern Nigeria. Boko Haram rebels destroyed houses and drove thousands into camps in Borno State. But now some of them are now trying to go home. And that is happening in Nigeria, talking about the Boko Haram leading to many people displaced. Now we're going to be crossing over to Brazil. There's a new development in Brazil that says Luiz Inácio Lula Silva has won Brazilian presidential elections. Now this is a remarkable comeback for the leftist leader, who is a two-time former president. Now Lula's victory was a narrow one because he just won with over 50% of the vote. The incumbent president in Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, who took 49%, has yet been conceding visit. He has agreed and not disagreed not to concede visit. Now, it was the country's tightest election since 1985 and the first time in the history of Brazil that a sitting president failed to win re-elections. And our dear viewers, this is where we're going to conclude today's news edition, coming to you live and direct from Golfe TV Africa here in the city of Cotonou. Now, to conclude this news edition, here is a recap of our top stories. Being hosted from the 24th to the 27th of October 2022, the 2022 edition of the World Forum on Child Nutrition. We also saw in this news edition that Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has won Brazil's presidential elections. And of course, concluding with this, the President of the Republic of Benin, President Patrice Talon, was on the diplomatic front in the morning of Friday, the 28th of October 2022. Thanks for tuning into Golfe TV Africa. I am Hazel OGOIGBE. Enjoy the rest of your day.